6.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. And the second in our series of special reports, The Damming of America. Tonight, the People versus Stonewall Jackson Dam.
Good evening. A double-barreled shot of what appears to be good economic news tonight. A sharp drop in inflation as measured by consumer prices. And a key interest rate hitting its lowest level in a year. The Labor Department reports that its consumer price index rose just 0.4% last month, down from 1% to 2% in September. That puts consumer price inflation at 9.6% for the first 10 months of the year. Analysts now say inflation for the whole year will slip below double digits, compared to more than 12% for last year. Also, Chase Manhattan, the nation's third largest bank, dropped its prime lending rate to a 12-month low of 15.75%. But that was partly due to a slackening of loan demands as the recession deepens. And as Ray Brady explains, the problem behind the inflation figures is something else.
The Labor Department figures show an easing in the cost of living, largely because of what's happening to the value of the American home. The figures show its price down last month 0.7%, and the financing cost of buying one down 0.1%. That double dip held the annual inflation rate to just 4.4%. The Reagan Index, the CBS News measure of inflation, shows that what cost $1 when Mr. Reagan took office now costs $1.07. Critics are again saying that housing is distorting the consumer price index. Only comparatively low-priced homes are used in the computation, and even small changes in price or mortgage rates can send the figures up or down sharply, and that has a major effect on the overall CPI. Earlier this year, housing made the inflation figures look worse. Now, say critics, they're making the figures look better than they are.
In the month of October, both home purchase prices and the ceiling rate on mortgages declined. These two factors have combined to pull the CPI down below what it would have been had homeownership been measured, let's say, on a rental equivalence basis.
The Labor Department admits the criticism is valid and will change its measure, but not until 1983.
I agree that the homeownership component would be better measured with a cost of shelter concept rather than the total purchase of an asset, which is what we now have in the index.
The Labor Department's new figures will use what it considers a more representative measure, what people are paying for rent. If that measure were in use now, the October inflation rate would not be 4.4%, but nearly double that, 8.4%, a figure most economists feel is closer to the real inflation rate. Even the new formula may bring a lot of controversy with it, because if it were in use now, it would help push up the cost of Social Security, some union wages, the pay of many state and local government workers, even some alimony payments, all of which are tied to the consumer price index, rise with it, and some say further fuel inflation. Ray Brady, CBS News, New York.
There was further evidence today of the recession's tightening grip on the economy. The Commerce Department said that orders for durable goods plunged 8% in October, the biggest monthly drop in 2.5 years. The operations of the federal government returned to normal today following that partial shutdown ordered by President Reagan in his budget fight with Congress. Bob Schieffer has details.
Yes, they all came back. All those government workers Ronald Reagan sent home at noon yesterday were on the road again this morning, heading back to work. The administration now estimates 200,000 federal workers around the country were furloughed yesterday, but today they were back. Back to the Commerce Department, the Internal Revenue Service, the Agriculture Department. Files that were bundled up for safekeeping yesterday went back on the shelves today. Vice President Bush, who was grounded yesterday for lack of travel funds, was on the move again today, telling everyone at the Capitol why yesterday's shutdown was a good thing.
Yeah, I think the president did the right thing. The people understand it more clearly.
Maybe so, but the same could not be said for some of those who were laid off.
There's no way to run a government. There's no way to run a business. And if we're trying to make government more of a business proposition, that's a very inefficient way to operate.
Congressional Democrats didn't find it all that amusing either.
I think it's quite possible we wasted very close to $1 billion You take hundreds of thousands of employees and have them spending one of their days doing absolutely nothing productive. It's plainly a waste.
Administration spokesman Donald Devine quickly disputed that.
I mean, anyone can grab numbers out of the sky. I don't know how much it costs.
Nor did anyone else, apparently. The White House said the budget office would have the figures, but a spokesman there said, we don't have the numbers and never will. Well, anyway, the federal workforce was back at full strength today. The federal payroll, excluding the military and postal workers, is about $190 million a day, and all of them will be paid whether or not they worked yesterday. And it turns out that those who were considered essential and stayed on the job included more than just Pentagon, national security personnel, and postal workers. The keepers at the National Zoo in Washington also stayed at their posts. Monkeys have to eat too, you know. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Washington.
Recently, a few extraordinary wines were entered in a prestigious international competition. Wines made from costly varietal grapes, harvested in some of the world's finest growing regions. An oak-aged Chardonnay, a deep, full-flavored Burgundy, a light, dry Chenin Blanc, a varietal Rosé, a spicy Gewürztraminer. And each of these wines, all from a single winemaker, was judged to be among the best of the world.
Silver medal, gold medal, silver, gold, gold medal.
The wines, all from America, all from California, and all from the wine cellars of America's premier vintners, Ernest and Julio Gallo. The award-winning wines of Ernest and Julio Gallo.
Almost dead on time and dead on target. That's how an American military officer described today's finale of the Bright Star 82 military exercises in the Middle East, an awesome bombing run over the Egyptian desert west of Cairo. Mitchell Krause was there.
It was the biggest American overseas bomb run since the Vietnam War and the high point of the largest American military exercise ever in the Middle East. One by one, the giant 8-engine B-52 superfortresses dropped their payload of 27 500-pound bombs each on the maneuver target, an airstrip in the Egyptian desert. Leaving the site, they turned toward their home base at Minot, North Dakota for the last leg of a 32-hour, 15,000-mile round trip. Then Egyptian-manned Soviet-made Badger bombers took over, unleashing 24 huge 1,200-pound bombs each, the delayed explosions momentarily blacking out the desert sun. Strafing runs by Egyptian MiGs followed, with French-made Mirage jets close behind. As the jets departed, a new breed of missile and rocket-launching helicopters arrived, the Egyptian-manned French-made Gazelle first, and then American Cobras, hovering menacingly before firing on hostile forces to soften up the area for a helicopter-borne assault. The final mission was to secure the site, which military briefers said might have been an oil field vital to the West. Watching it all were high-ranking U.S. and Egyptian military men and observers from more than a dozen other countries, including some from the Soviet bloc. As American and Egyptian troops exchanged wings and said goodbye, it was clear that the month-long operation, estimated to have cost more than $50 million, was at least as important politically as it was militarily, because it appeared to demonstrate America's determination to defend its national interest quickly in a future Middle East crisis. Mitchell Krause, CBS News, in the Egyptian desert west of Cairo.
There was an ominous warning today that the current glut in world oil supplies could end with, quote, a jarring shock. That warning came from Saudi Arabian Oil Minister Yamani at an OPEC-sponsored seminar in Vienna. He said the surplus does not mean the end of the energy problem, adding that the glut is only a transient phase during which many may relax in the sense of false security that it gives, unquote Yamani. It's expected that the oil surplus, which has helped soften the impact of inflation, will end by summer.
To help you buy a new car, Chrysler is holding 81 sticker prices on its Omni and Horizon Misers and Customs, its Aries and Reliant K 2- and 4-door base models. 82 cars at 81 prices. And now at participating dealers, Chrysler's savings certificates save you $300 to $1,000 on most other new 81 and 82 cars and trucks, depending on model. For 82 cars at 81 prices, or savings certificates worth $300 to $1,000, come to Chrysler.
When I smoke cigars at home, my friends never object, because I've got a Pollenex Pure Air 99. It has a 4-stage filter, including activated charcoal. It removes smoke, pollen, and dust, everything but your relatives. Smoke goes in here, clean air comes out here. And you can even dial a citrus scent, or no scent at all. These are my friends. They're crazy about my Pure Air 99 from Pollenex. Right, girls?
The motive remains a mystery today, but California authorities have made an arrest in a series of bizarre and puzzling hospital deaths that attracted national attention earlier this year. Linda Douglas is covering the case.
The case against nurse Robert Diaz has evolved slowly. For 7 months, authorities labeled him the common thread in a number of mysterious deaths at 3 small Southern California hospitals. Yet no charges were filed. Then, late last night, the other shoe was finally dropped. Diaz was arrested, charged with murdering elderly patients by injecting them with a lethal dose of a heart drug, lidocaine. His wife stood by as sheriff's deputies took him away.
They asked for Bob, and I asked why, and they just said they had a warrant for his arrest, 12 counts of murder. I didn't think they'd go this far.
Authorities said a series of exhumations and autopsies, together with hospital records, showed all 12 patients died during Diaz's shift. The lidocaine shots were not noted on the patient's charts, and the doses were far too massive to have been accidental. Prosecutors wouldn't discuss a motive, but said they would seek the death penalty against Diaz.
The victims were particularly vulnerable. These were individuals who had to go to the hospital, some at the urging of relatives who didn't want to go to the hospital, were afraid of hospitals, and basically at the mercy of this nurse.
One of the 12 lidocaine victims was Clifford Swanson, his widow, Elsie.
It was so unnecessary. He wasn't that ill. I was just expecting him to come home in a couple of days, and instead they called me and told me he had passed away.
At a court hearing late today, Diaz got a 2-week postponement for entering his plea. No bail was set. Diaz's lawyer said he believes the murder charges were filed against his client in retaliation for the nurse's $300 million defamation suit against the county of Riverside. The lawyer went on to say he believes the nurse has been made into a scapegoat by lawyers looking for answers to a case they can't solve. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Riverside.
An undercover operation described as unparalleled in the history of the FBI led to the indictment in New York today of 6 reputed members of the Bonanno crime family. The alleged racketeering conspiracy involved 3 murders, gambling, and drug peddling. Spokesman said 2 FBI agents infiltrated the crime family for up to 5 years. One of them, according to authorities, became so trusted he handled narcotics and loan sharking operations. A spokesman said the arrests deal a very serious blow to the Bonanno family. Weather Underground members Catherine Boudin and Judith Clark today refused to plead to robbery and murder charges. Those charges came from last month's Brinks armored car holdup that left 3 people dead. A court-ordered plea of innocence was entered for the defiant radicals who raised clenched fist salutes to their supporters in the suburban New York courthouse. The arraignment set the stage for a January 25th trial date. But as Karen Stone reports, the question is whether the Brinks job was an isolated crime or part of an attempt to revitalize a violent underground terrorist movement.
With the arraignment of Kathy Boudin and Judith Clark today, 4 defendants in the case have now pleaded not guilty to state charges involving robbery and murder. So far, the case against them has been limited to what took place late one October afternoon.
They violated state law, pure and simple. They've committed the most serious crime, which is murder, and they should be punished accordingly.
The FBI, however, is not convinced it's pure and simple and is investigating terrorist connections. But defense attorney Martin Garbus is fighting the terrorist characterization of this case.
And thus far, there's been a great deal of speculation and allegations, but the district attorney's case does not tie into a lot of the stories that have been in the press.
So far, this much is known. 7 persons have been formally indicted in the Rockland County robbery and murders. All are members of radical groups who've been engaged in violence. Nathaniel Burns was reportedly trained in guerrilla tactics by Cubans and Soviets in Africa. 2 other fugitives are still suspects, and Rockland County authorities expect to indict Donald Weems soon. Following the arrest of Republic of New Africa member Cynthia Boston, federal officials set her free when they couldn't put together a case against her. But now FBI sources have told CBS News a fingerprint of fugitive Donald Weems was found in her Gallup, Mississippi farmhouse, linking a suspect for the first time with the Republic of New Africa. In another development, Donald Weems has now been identified with another Brinks robbery. Sources also said he, David Gilbert, and Anthony Laborde have been identified as participants in a June 2nd robbery in the Bronx, New York. 1 person was killed, and the robbers got away with $292,000. Authorities also have told CBS News that on Long Island, New York, some of the same people pulled off a heist in April of 1980. That one netted $525,000. The most important question federal authorities are asking is, what did the suspects do or plan to do with more than $2 million? Only when they answer that will they be able to determine whether this case goes beyond serious crime and involves terrorism. Karen Stone, CBS News, Rockland County, New York.
Mrs. Rose Kennedy, 91-year-old matriarch of one of the nation's most prominent political families, entered a Palm Beach hospital today. A family spokesman says Mrs. Kennedy had suffered chest pains during the night. The spokesman said that she is resting comfortably in stable condition.
In Colombia, South America, on Laguna La Cocha, for centuries they have celebrated a pre-Columbian ritual because they have a dedication to their heritage. The same dedication to heritage that has been passed to Juan Valdez. He picks his coffee as it has been picked for centuries, by hand, day after day, bean by bean, only when it is ready. It is no surprise, Colombian coffee is the richest in the world. It is a national heritage.
Changing your own oil and filter regularly can make a world of difference when you're about to go on a long trip, especially if you want to leave on time. That's why Valvoline markets a complete line of fine quality products for your engine. Valvoline is engineered to help prevent heat buildup and oil breakdown in today's higher revving engines. Valvoline congratulates the Columbia crew, team, and the thousands of Americans who helped make another of our country's proud moments happen.
An optimistic note over U.S.-Soviet arms talks was sounded today by Secretary of State Haig. He said that based on recent discussions with Soviet officials, and I quote, "I think the message is getting through. A new and constructive dialogue is about to take place." But Haig's optimism was in sharp contrast with the view from Bonn, where Soviet President Brezhnev and West German Chancellor Schmidt ended 3 days of summitry. Tom Fenton is there.
Brezhnev and Schmidt wound up their talks with both sides still far apart on how to negotiate a reduction of nuclear weapons in Europe. They described their talks as frank. Brezhnev said at least they did not deepen their differences. Although only the United States and the Soviet Union will be negotiating, Schmidt has been trying to act as a go-between, explaining the American position to the Russians and vice versa. During the briefings for newsmen, Leonid Zamyatin and Kurt Becker, the spokesman for the two sides, also seemed to be having trouble agreeing. Zamyatin lost his temper when Becker quoted Schmidt as complimenting Brezhnev on his health. Zamyatin snapped back, "There's nothing wrong with Brezhnev's health." The Soviet spokesman also lashed out at President Reagan. Zamyatin said he could not recall anyone in the last third of this century who has so frequently declared the Soviet Union to be the enemy. Former Chancellor Willy Brandt, one of several politicians who visited Brezhnev today, said afterward he found the Soviet side full of mistrust for the Americans, and he added, "It's the same way the other way round." There have been no breakthroughs here. These talks have been part of the diplomatic skirmishing leading up to new arms negotiations. For Brezhnev, they've been a golden opportunity to play to the gallery of European public opinion. If they've served any other purpose, they have at least illustrated the extreme complexity of the negotiations that begin next week in Geneva. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Bonn.
Winds up to 100 miles an hour and waves 50 feet high battered shipping in the North Sea today. Anchor cables snapped on the oil rig Transworld 58. 50 men were lifted off by helicopter. 20 others remained aboard while the rig drifted toward Scotland. 3 cargo ships are missing. Low areas are flooded in Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. Roofs were blown off hundreds of homes in Denmark. Poland's severe shortages of food and other basic items have taken a deadly turn. The Solidarity Union said today that 3 persons have been killed and dozens injured by enraged and rioting shoppers throughout the country. The union warned that unless police protection is provided, 10,000 shop workers in Warsaw will go on strike tomorrow.
You're not too young for Geritol. If you're not too young
to have an occupation,
not too young
for family dedication,
not too young
to be a leader in our nation.
You're not too young for Geritol.
No, you're not too young for Geritol. Each Geritol tablet is a special combination of potent amounts of iron and lots of important vitamins.
You're not too young for Geritol.
When Europeans get together with friends, they serve their wine in a carafe. Thanks to Paul Masson, we can enjoy this same tradition. Paul Masson's attractive carafe, an easy way to enjoy our great wines, like cool, delicious Paul Masson Chablis, rich, mellow Burgundy, or delightful Rosé. The Paul Masson Carafe. The time has come for this great way to serve a great wine.
Last night, we reported the story of big money, big politics, and big dams. The story of 2 major dam-building projects that smacked of pork barrel politics. But as Ed Rabel reports, even a dam that may seem to be needed can lead to fighting words or worse.
It is early morning in Lewis County in northern West Virginia. In the fields, the work of autumn is underway.
I own land that has been in the Linger family since 1835. It is responsible for me being here. Now, in the sense of, I made my living here. My father and mother made their livings there, and their grandfather and mother made their living here.
Jack Linger and his son Lewis are preparing their cattle for the winter ahead. Lingers have lived and worked here in Lewis County, holding fast to the tradition of passing the land down from father to son, generation after generation. For the Lingers, the land provides reason for living.
I was born and raised here, and it means more than just another piece of land, because I have worked and sweat and paid for it and educated 3 kids, and I love it, or I wouldn't have been here.
The irony is that in the midst of this pastoral setting, the prevailing mood is fear. The Corps of Engineers is taking thousands of acres of this land for a dam project which many residents consider useless. The fear is that the project will change the face of this area for all time.
It is a concern shared by few residents of nearby Weston, West Virginia, which floods constantly for lack of the dam. Here, the fear is that the project will be stopped. For 50 years since the dam was first conceived, farmers and townspeople alike have fought about and lived in doubt over the outcome of the project. There are no villains, only victims. Listen to one of them.
Since I found out that my house was pulled off of the foundation, it scares me, and I've had dreams of the house letting go, because the water is so swift, not only the river behind me, but when it comes into the streets and all.
The Stonewall Jackson Dam might end the bad dreams for Lucille Malone and her neighbors because it would hold back the West Fork River, normally a placid stream, but at times a river gone mad.
I just don't think I can live through it. I just get panicky. I really do. I really panic. Just get very... And I stay up all night whenever we have any signs of water. I couldn't possibly go to sleep.
But to protect Lucille Malone and a few thousand citizens of Weston, Jack Linger and more than 1,000 of his neighbors are going to have to give up their cherished land and move.
I'm going through the same kind of a feeling that I had when I lost my wife. In other words, just like losing a good friend, because this farm has been good to me. I've worked it, but nevertheless, it's been good to me, and I just hate to give up something like that.
So, is it worth it? The Corps of Engineers says yes, even though it will spend at least $189 million of the taxpayers' money to buy this land, move the people, and build the dam. That's $24,000 for every man, woman, and child in Weston, for a project many say offers little more than flood protection.
It's a plaything. They're making work and pacifying maybe some business leaders in a community. This is the category I have to put the Stonewall Jackson Dam in, and the Corps of Engineers in this area. And in reality, all they are is legalized land rustlers, and this is the way that they've been treating the citizens of West Virginia.
Well, what would you expect the Commissioner of Agriculture to say in a situation like that? I don't like the idea of seeing 1,000 people relocated because of a dam project, but because of this flood problem in Weston, which has never been solved, because of the enormous recreational opportunities. 700,000 people will end up using Stonewall Jackson Dam and the lake from it, and because of industrial development. I think it's a sensible expenditure of money.
If they lose their fight, opponents of the dam see their rustic, simple way of life coming to an end. Frustrated, most of their legal means to end the project exhausted. Their hope is that the Reagan administration will stop the dam to save more tax money. Their fear is having to face the possibility of defeat.
You do face that possibility. What runs through your mind?
Then when I think about really fighting in a little different way.
For example?
You know, guns are equalizers.
And?
They can be used. Of course, I know I'll only probably get 1 or 2 people and they'll get me, but that'll put me out of my misery.
Ed Rabel and his report on the problems with dams. And that's the CBS Evening News for this Tuesday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Good night.
The only serious solution to indoor air pollution, Ecologizer CA90 air treatment systems. The unique CA90 natural cleansing system is scientifically superior to anything else. It removes tobacco smoke, odors, dust and pollen from the air continuously. Ecologizer CA90 air treatment systems for home, office, and auto. Anything else is less.
Sore throat? Say ah. Septic. The ah in Chloraseptic is for fast temporary relief of minor sore throat pain.
Septic.
Doctors and pharmacists have been recommending Chloraseptic for over 20 years. When your throat hurts, say ah. Chloraseptic. Liquid, lozenges, and children's Chloraseptic. Fast relief for sore throat pain.
Ah.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.
Sweeping changes recommended for the Metro Police Department, part of a report saying Metro Police are far below average